You already know how to scope a build. You found the leverage point, you drew the line around the smallest version that proves it. You forced every feature into include, cut, or defer. That discipline is yours now. So here's the problem. When you scope your own build, the only person who can blow up the scope is you. And you've got the 3 buckets to stop yourself. But when you build for a client, there's a second person in the room. And that person has opinions, a budget they're emotional about, a wish list that grows every week, and a very reasonable habit of saying, oh, while you're in there, can it also do this? Scoping for a client isn't a harder version of scoping for yourself. It's a different job because now you're managing scope across 2 people, and one of them isn't reading this course. So here's what I want to hand you in the next few minutes. By the end of this, you'll know how to take that scoping discipline you already have and put a contract around it, so the line you drew actually holds when there's a paying client leaning on it. How to write down what you're building in a way you both sign. How to define what done means so it's the client's definition, not just yours. And how to handle the moment every consultant dreads, when the client asks for more in the middle of the build. Get this right and you finish, get paid, and the client's thrilled. Get it wrong and you're 3 months in, unpaid, building a thing that keeps changing under you. Let me show you the moves. Start with the brief, because the brief is where the whole engagement is won or lost. When you scoped your own build, the scope lived in your head and your notes, and that was fine because you're the only one who had to honor it. With a client, the scope has to live somewhere you both agreed to, in writing, before a single line gets built. That written agreement is your statement of work. Don't let the words scare you. It's not a legal monster. It's one page that says, in plain language, here's what I'm building. Here's how we'll both know it worked. Here's what it costs. And here's what it doesn't include. That last part, what it doesn't include, is the part most people leave off, and it's the part that saves you. So what goes on that page? 3 things you capture on the call before you ever say a number. 1, the business goal in business language. Not, I want an AI tool. The actual outcome they want to be true. I want to cut our support response time from a day to an hour. I want to onboard a new client in 2 days instead of 2 weeks. If all they can tell you is, I want AI, you keep asking until you get a real goal because you can't scope a wish. 2, the leverage point, where in their workflow this build actually goes, which return it's capturing. That mapping from their messy goal to the exact spot where an AI build pays is the thing they're hiring you for. It's the skill they don't have. And 3, the success measure, the countable target with a deadline that tells both of you the first version worked. Something like tickets resolved in under 2 hours instead of a day, cut roughly in half on most of them within the first month. Not make support better, a number you could hold the build against. If the client won't commit to a measure, you don't have a project yet, and you definitely don't have a price. No measure, no contract. Now here's the move that separates a consultant who gets paid from one who gets stuck. You define what done means, and you define it with the client out loud before you build. This is the same definition of done discipline from the method, where you write down what good looks like before you start. Except now, it's not a private note to yourself. It's a shared agreement. You walk the client through it. When this is done, here's exactly what it'll do. It'll take a new support ticket, draft a reply for the common cases, and flag the weird ones for a human. That's version 1. When that's working and hitting the time target, we're done. And then you say the other half out loud, the half that hurts but protects you both. Here's what version 1 will not do. It won't handle every edge case on day 1. It won't be connected to your CRM yet. It won't have a dashboard yet. You're not hiding the cuts. You're naming them together, so that when the client remembers the dashboard in week 2, you can point at the agreement you both made and say, right, that's exactly what we agreed was version 2. Defining done with the client turns your scoping line into a line they helped draw, which means it's a line they'll respect. And that brings us to the hard part, the moment this whole lesson is really about, the change request. You're a week and a half into the build, it's going well, and the client sends a message. This is looking great. Quick thing, can it also pull from our CRM so it personalizes automatically? Oh, and a dashboard would be amazing. You already know from scoping your own builds that those are good ideas. That's the trap. Scope creep is never made of bad ideas. It's made of good ones, and good ones are even harder to say no to when the person asking is the one paying you. So here's the protocol, and it's not say no. Saying no to a paying client is how you lose the client. The move is, every change request gets run through the same test every feature did. Does this change what done means for version 1? Is it required to hit the success measure you both agreed to? If it genuinely is, and you missed it in the brief, that's on you. You fold it in, but almost always it's not. The CRM integration makes a working build better. The dashboard is real and valuable. They're just not part of proving version 1 pays. So you don't say no. You say, love it, that's a great version 2. You write it down in the durable place where the build's decisions and deferred work already live. The same place you'd park any deferred feature. And you tell the client plainly, that's not in this scope, but it's a perfect next phase. Let's ship version 1, prove the number, then I'll scope that as its own piece of work. You're not rejecting the idea, you're routing it. And routing it is what keeps the first version actually shipping, instead of swelling into the same stuck platform that kills, builds when nobody draws the line, which is exactly why version 2 is a separate sale. Not implied, not free, not, oh, I'll just throw that in. A new phase of work is a new brief, with its own scope, its own definition of done, and its own price. This is the single discipline that keeps consultants out of the trap that swallows most of them. The perpetual maintenance trap, where the original project never really ends. The client keeps asking for just one more thing, and you're working for free forever on a job you already finished and got paid for once. When you treat the next version as its own engagement, two things happen. The client takes the boundaries seriously, because money makes a boundary real, and you build the next piece with proof in hand, because the first version actually shipped and hit its number. So the next phase is an easy yes for both of you instead of a hopeful guess. Ship the first version, prove it, then sell the second. That's not you being stingy. That's you running a real practice instead of a hostage situation. One more guardrail, the same clock you put on your own builds. A real client build at a real leverage point should ship in something like 1 to 3 weeks, not 1 to 3 months. And the client needs to see that cadence in writing too, because a client who doesn't know what's happening fills the silence with anxiety. And anxious clients are the ones who start piling on requests. So you set the rhythm up front. Week 1, the brief is signed, you confirm the leverage point in their actual workflow, and you ship the smallest piece. Week 2, they test it in their own world, and the feedback loop runs. Week 3, the first version ships and the measurement is in place, so they can see the number you both agreed to. They know what they'll see at each step, and just as important, what they won't, the build details, the mechanics under the hood, because that's your craft, not their concern. A written cadence prevents scope creep, prevents the "is it done yet" anxiety, and prevents the slow drift where the client's idea of the project quietly diverges from yours. Every consultant who skips the written cadence regrets it, and I want to name what's really happening here, because it ties straight back to the heart of this whole course. Finding the leverage point in a client's business, that's one kind of work, knowing where the value is for them. But scoping it with the client, writing the agreement, defining done together, holding the line when the change requests come, routing the good ideas to a paid next phase, that's the other kind of work. That's the real doing at the leverage point. In the place it's hardest to do it, across the table from someone with money on the line. The consultant who scopes tight, ships in 3 weeks, and turns every "while you're in there" into a clean next phase will out-earn the one with the brilliant, sprawling vision who's still unpaid at month 3 every single time. The scoping isn't the boring paperwork before the real consulting. With a client, the scoping is the consulting. So here's your move, and do it before your next client conversation. Take a client engagement you're scoping, or the most recent one you had, and write the one-page statement of work for it. The business goal in their language, the leverage point you'd map it to, the success measure, countable, with a deadline, the definition of done, what version 1 will do, written so you could read it to the client out loud. And then the part everyone skips, the what this does not include line, where you name the obvious things the client will eventually ask for and explicitly park them for a paid version 2. If you can't fill in all of it, good. You just found the exact questions you need to ask before you quote a single dollar. Get that right, and you've turned a scoping skill into a real consulting practice. One where you finish, you get paid, and the client comes back for the next phase. Get it wrong, and the best leverage point in the world dies in scope creep, except now it dies on someone else's dime, with your reputation attached to it. Next, you put a number on it. The brief is signed, the scope is locked, the cadence is set. Now you price the work and you deliver it. The operator is vendor pattern that turns this from a one-off favor into a business. That's the next lesson. And if you ever want to see this discipline at full size, it's not theory for me. This is exactly how real software gets built. Go look at ScaleBoss. It's a live business operating system, real companies running their operations on it right now, and it got there the same way, one proven slice at a time. And I'm doing it again in the open with Revistack, scoping hard, shipping the smallest version that proves the return, then earning the next piece over and over. Same line, same buckets, just bigger, and a client on the other side of plenty of it. Go see for yourself that the smallest version, shipped and proven, is how the real ones get built. For now, write your statement of work. That's the difference between a consulting practice that pays and a favor that never ends. I'll see you in the next one.